No character has appeared in more Star Trek series than one William T. Riker. Suave ladies man, epic beard grower, executor of the Riker maneuver. As well as being a main character in The Next Generation, he also appeared in Deep Space Nine. Look, debate it in the comments below if you would count that as it is technically his transporter twin, but Thomas Riker really is just Riker, just with a different last 10 years of his life than, our Riker. So I'm counting it. That's Riker. Q briefly transported him to Voyager to make a point to Captain Janeway, and of course, he was infamously in the final episode of Enterprise, partaking in a holodeck recreation of the events on Archer's Enterprise. Then, in the modern era, he's guested in a couple of episodes of Star Trek Picard's first season and has shown up in a couple of times in Star Trek Lower Decks. But there are more shows that are running that he could be in. Wouldn't it just be kind of amusing if he became like the Stan Lee of the Star Trek universe, appearing in every show in some form or another? Just, not like he did in Enterprise, please. But how would we do that for each series? Let's start with Discovery. Discovery could have proved difficult if it had stayed in its original setting as a prequel to the original series. But for Series 3, it made the jump forward in time further than any Star Trek show has been before, and so Riker is now in their past. We've already seen Discovery crew being educated about the centuries they missed with the aid of holograms. So, what if a particular mission the crew of the Discovery are on relates to an old mission from centuries past? Not one we've seen before, but one from the days of Riker being captain of the Titan. This could take two forms. A quick cameo. The Discovery crew are looking back through old ship's logs and bring up a holographic recording of Riker recording a captain's log, giving some key details that would play into their own plot for that episode. Or a more in-depth appearance. They bring up a holographic recreation of the Titan's mission. This could then span over several scenes of the episode and give a more substantial guest cast stint to him. My gut here though would be to go for the quick captain's log cameo. The full appearance might be overdoing it, although I think it could work too. What do you think? Then we've got Prodigy. Now Prodigy has already given us the perfect opportunity they could have used Riker in, but there's no reason the concept that they used there couldn't be used again. I'm talking about the holodeck training program that the ragtag crew used in season 1, where the hologram versions of a bunch of characters from across the previous Trek shows were used to populate a bridge for a battle simulation. So there's no reason there can't be more holodeck training programs as the crew try and make themselves more worthy of Starfleet. And one of those could involve Riker. Now, I wouldn't want necessarily a whole repeat of that previous holodeck training episode. That ground's been covered, so they would need to do something different with it. But I think it's the best way to get a Riker cameo into that series. I suppose also now that we've got real life Janeway as opposed to just hologram Janeway on the ship, we could get a scene where she communicates with Riker for some reason or another. But I prefer the hologram idea, I think. And finally, we've got Strange New Worlds. This is the tricky one. Riker isn't born yet. He won't be born for 100 years or so. And we really don't want a repeat of the Enterprise finale. No Riker watching Adventures of Captain Pike on the holodeck. No. So, if we're not going to do that, what could they do? Well, one plot device that was initially introduced in Discovery Season 2, but brought back in Strange New Worlds Season 1, is the Time Stones. Mysterious crystals that when you touch them, give you visions of the future. Now, we've only seen them used to give you visions from your personal future so far, which might not be good enough for reaching, Riker's timeline, unless, I guess, Spock touches them. But there's no reason that lore can't be added to, and maybe the ability of the Time Stones also added to, so we can have visions of Riker, potentially. Of course, again, this really needs to relate to whatever plot the episode is doing that week. It needs to add something to the story of our characters on the show, otherwise it's kind of just cheap. That was part of the problem with the Enterprise Riker appearance. It didn't add anything to the characters of that show and their stories. It was just kind of a Riker story, really. It needs to add something to what is going on around it. What that might be in the context of Strange New Worlds, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think the plot could be. but I think the time stones would be the key to getting him in to somehow cameo in Strange New Worlds. I mean, he could even just use archive footage, and not just of Riker, but of characters throughout the whole of Trek's future history, or maybe a mix of archive and new footage, maybe. There are possibilities here, but it's the most risky of the series to include Riker in. That's it for the current series, although as they add more Trek shows, it's going to get harder depending on when they are set. I just think it's quite fun to squeeze Riker into them. Bonus points if you can get the Riker maneuver in there too. Let me know what you think. How would you insert Riker into these series in some way that is acceptable? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all that jazz for more geeky pop culture content from me. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.